So I chose to go to Priestley College because I live relatively local, and in the area it's the college to go to. It's got amazing grades and it's got amazing programs to get people into unis, whether it be a standard degree or a degree apprenticeship. I came in and I talked to the tutors and I spoke to other students, and it was just very welcoming. And then they had the entire program. They had the courses set out for you, the topics that you cover, the studies that you cover. And they asked what's my favourite part of psychology, so I said, like many students would say, and it was mental health. And they said, oh well, you would, if you choose to take psychology, would love the second year. There's an entire unit based around mental health and a history of it. And I think from then on, I just had to do it. I had to take psychology to see what it was all about. And not only did I thoroughly enjoy the first year, but now that I've done mental health, it really was worth the wait. And the entire first year was very, very rewarding. So the units that we cover in psychology, there's three main units. You've got your research methods, which is all about the psychological program. So it's how you conduct experiments, different types of experiments, whether it be field or laboratory or naturally occurring. And then there's Unit 2, which is core studies, so you actually research other people's studies in different topics of psychology. So there's like biological psychology, there's individual differences, and you look at core studies based around those areas and how they link to certain areas. And that's probably one of my favourite ones. And then there's Unit 3, which is application of psychology. It's psychology in the world that we live in, and it's criminal psychology, child psychology, mental health, and it's more of the psychology that people think of psychology and they go to, oh, mental health, child psychology, forensic psychology, criminal psychology. So Unit 3 is the one that you do in the second year, and that's the one that everyone would typically think, oh, that's psychology, that's what you do there. So every lesson for psychology seems like it's different from the last. There's never a dull day with the subject. So one day you can come in and you're learning something new, so it's just theory based, and then you'll do a bit of partner work, so you'll go over it with someone else to make sure you're both at the same level. And as a classroom, that develops the very social dynamic that everyone's being pulled up together. There's other lessons where it's very individual based, so the teacher's there if you need help, but apart from that, you need to you work by yourself, not necessarily in silence, because if you've got a question or if you need help, no one's going to deny you of help. But then there's lessons where we'll be in the LRC because we've been conducting research, so we need to either use the computers to type it up, or we need to use the computers to calculate use a formula to calculate the significant difference of research that we've done. One lesson in particular that got my attention was one from the core studies, and it was one from the individual differences area of psychology. And it was a study by a psychologist called Hancock, and it was based on the language of psychopaths and how they manipulate conversations to benefit themselves and how they act on a primitive but rational level. And I think for me, was really interesting. There's been many talks from psychiatrists and from doctors, and I attended one. It was by two Muslim doctors, and it was about the idea of religion in medicine and psychology. And they explained the dopamine hypothesis linked to schizophrenia, which is actually something at the time I knew nothing about. However, it's actually something I learned in the second year. So when I attended that lesson, I sort of had, not a head start, because we had clear stuff that we needed to learn, which may have not been brought up in that talk. But it was a really, really interesting talk to learn about something before being taught it the next year. So I've applied to many universities, including Oxford, for all courses based around psychology, and I think my courses here at Priestley have really prepared me for it. So whether it be chemistry, biology, or most importantly psychology, I have got the tools to go far and do well in wherever I end up.